You're not going to become a millionaire by saving your way there. I need you to hear that before anything else, because it's the single biggest lie sold to working people. And it's kept more talented, hardworking folks broke than any recession ever did. If your entire plan is cut the coffee, skip the vacations, put $20 a week into a savings account, you are going to work until you're 70 and retire with maybe enough to cover a used car. I've watched people do the math on this, real math, save $500 a month at a bank paying you basically nothing. And in 30 years, you've got a couple $100,000 if you're lucky and nothing ever goes wrong along. The way that's not wealth, that's barely a cushion. Meanwhile, the person who figured out ownership, even a small piece of it starting 10 years behind you, walks right past you on the way to the finish line. And it isn't because they were smarter or luckier, it's because they understood something you haven't been taught yet. So if you came here hoping I'm going to tell you to budget harder, cut out the little pleasures, clip coupons and grind your way to $1 million, $1 at a time, turn this off right now, because that's not what got anybody rich. And it sure isn't going to get you there either. What actually builds $1 million, and eventually a lot more than that, is understanding a handful of rules that nobody sits you down and explains. Not your school, which teaches you how to be a good employee, but almost nothing about money. Not your parents, usually, because most of them were taught the same broken playbook their whole lives and simply passed it down without ever stopping to question whether it actually worked. I'm going to give you those rules today, straight, no fluff, no filler, the way I wish somebody had handed them to me before I burned a decade learning them the hard way through mistakes that cost me real money and real years I'll never get back. Before I get into it, I need you to do one thing for me, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Hit subscribe right now before you keep watching. I'm not asking because I need the number to go up for some algorithm somewhere. I'm asking because what I'm about to walk you through is stuff people pay real consultants real money for. Thousands of dollars. Easy, sometimes more. I'm giving it to you for free right here in the next 25 minutes. And all I want in return is for you to stick around, so the next video and the one after that actually reaches you when it comes out. That's the whole trade. It costs you nothing and it takes 2 seconds of your time. Do it now before you get distracted and forget, because I promise you, you will forget. And then you'll be back here in 6 months searching for this exact video again, wondering why you never found this channel a second time. Here's the first thing almost nobody understands, and it's the thing that separates people who get rich from people who stay comfortable and break their entire lives. Your job is never going to make you a millionaire. I don't care how good the salary is. I don't care if you're pulling in $200,000, $300,000 a year working for somebody else. A salary is something somebody else controls, and no matter how high it climbs, there's a ceiling on it. Because there's a ceiling on how many hours exist in a day and how much any one person can trade those hours for, no matter how valuable those hours are. What actually makes people wealthy is ownership. Owning a piece of something that keeps making money, whether you personally show up that day or not, that's a business. That's real estate. That's stock in a company. That's a piece of something that grows on its own while you're asleep, while you're on vacation, while you're doing literally anything else with your time. I've sat across from people making incredible incomes who have nothing to show for it. No savings, no investments, nothing. Because every single dollar came in and went right back out, tied to their labor, tied to their time, tied to a job that could disappear tomorrow with one bad quarter for the company they work for. And I've sat across from people making a fraction of that income who are worth millions quietly without anyone knowing it, because at some point, even in a small way, they stopped trading time for money and started owning things instead. That shift from earner to owner is the whole game. Everything else you'll ever learn about money is just details layered on top of that one core idea. If you remember nothing else from this entire video, remember that one sentence, because it will change how you look at every single dollar that comes into your life from this point forward. Every time money hits your hands, ask yourself one simple question. Does this dollar just disappear into a bill and vanish forever? Or does some piece of it go toward owning something that will still be there and still be working for me. 10 years from now, that one habit, repeated quietly for years without anyone noticing, is the actual difference between wealthy and not, more than luck, more than a big break, more than anything else. Now let's talk about the math, because most people have never actually sat down and run the real numbers on what it takes to hit $1 million. And once you see it laid out clearly, it stops feeling impossible and starts feeling like a plan. Can actually execute starting today. Say you're starting from zero, nothing in the bank, nothing invested, maybe even some debt hanging over you. If you can find a way to invest just $500 a month, and I mean actually invest it, not stick it in a savings account earning next to nothing while inflation quietly eats it alive, but put it into something that historically grows around 8 to 10% a year, which is roughly what the stock market has returned over long stretches of time. When you zoom out and ignore all the day-to-day noise and panic, you are looking at becoming a millionaire in a little over 25 years. Bump that up to $1,000 a month and you cut that timeline down significantly into the high teens, push it to $1,500 a month, and you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 years, sometimes less, depending on the market. Now here's the part almost everyone skips past too fast, and it's the most important part. The growth in those final years is wild compared to the early ones. In year one, your $500 a month barely moves the needle. It feels pointless. You check the account, you see a few $100s of growth after months of contributing, and it feels like a complete waste of time compared to just spending that money and enjoying your life right now, today, while you're young. But compounding money is like pushing a boulder up a hill. The first years are brutal, slow, discouraging, almost invisible, and most people give up right there, convinced it isn't working. And then somewhere around year 15 or 20, that boulder starts rolling on its own and picking up speed you never thought was possible. In the last 5 years before that $1 million mark, your money can grow more than it did in the first 15 years, combined purely from the sheer weight of what's already been built up quietly in the background. The single biggest mistake almost everyone makes is quitting during the boulder pushing years because they don't understand that the payoff is loaded at the very back end, not the front. I've talked to people who started investing, got discouraged after 2 years because their account barely moved, and pulled everything out to buy something that felt good in the moment, a car, a trip, whatever it was. That one decision alone probably cost them $1 million over their lifetime, maybe more once you account for everything that money would have compounded into over the following decades. Patience isn't a personality trait here. It's a financial strategy, and it might be the single most underrated one that exists because it costs absolutely nothing, and almost nobody has the discipline to actually stick with it long enough to see it pay off. Let's talk about the one skill that decides whether any of this works for you at all. And it's not a finance skill in the slightest. It's the ability to sell. I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care if you never plan on starting a business a single day in your life. The ability to sell, meaning the ability to communicate value clearly and get another person to say yes, is the skill that unlocks every single path to real money that exists in this world. Every business is sales. Every negotiation is sales. Getting a raise is sales. Getting investors on board is sales. Getting customers through the door is sales. Even getting your own kid to eat their vegetables is a form of sales. If you really break it down, I've watched brilliant people with incredible, genuinely game-changing ideas go absolutely nowhere in life because they couldn't explain to another human being why anyone should care about what they'd built. And I've watched average, unremarkable ideas turn into massive, life-changing companies because the person behind them knew how to make people believe in it and see the value clearly and quickly. If you want to fast-track your way toward real money, go get good at selling something, anything at all. Even if it's just selling yourself confidently in a job interview or selling your boss on why you deserve more responsibility and more pay, most people are terrified of this because they think selling means being pushy, sleazy, or fake. Some guy in a cheap suit talking too fast and too loud. It's the exact opposite of that. The best selling in the entire world is simply being genuinely useful to another person and clearly explaining how that's it. That's the whole skill, stripped all the way down to its core. Learn to identify a real problem somebody actually has and learn to clearly explain how you solve it better than the alternatives sitting in front of them. And you will never be broke a single day in your life because that one skill transfers to literally every opportunity that ever walks through your door in any industry at any income level for the rest of your entire career. I go as far as saying if you have to choose between spending a year learning a new coding language or spending that same year getting genuinely comfortable talking to strangers, negotiating and pitching ideas, take the second one every time because you can always hire the coder later. It's a lot harder to hire your way out of not being able to communicate your own value. And here's the part that trips people up. Nobody is born good at this. Every single person you've ever seen who seems naturally persuasive practiced it, usually badly, in front of people who told them no, over and over until it stopped feeling terrifying. Go get comfortable being told no. Go pitch something small, an idea to a coworker, a discount to a vendor, a raise to your manager, and pay attention to what worked and what fell flat. That feedback loop, repeated over months, is worth more than any business degree because a degree teaches you theory, and this teaches you the actual skill that pays the bills. Now let's get into where you actually put your money once you have some of it moving through your hands. Because having the right mindset means absolutely nothing if you park your cash somewhere that never grows. First rule, and this one's non-negotiable, no exceptions. Get out of high interest debt before you do anything else on this list. If you're carrying credit card debt sitting at 20-something% interest, no investment you make anywhere else is going to outrun that. You are lighting real money on fire every single month. That debt sits there guaranteed every time, no exceptions to this rule. Kill it first aggressively before you invest a single extra dollar anywhere else, because paying off a 20% interest rate is functionally the same as earning a guaranteed 20% return somewhere, and nothing else on this entire list gets you a guarantee anywhere close to that. Once that's fully handled, here's how I think about where money should go next. A chunk goes into low-cost index funds, meaning funds that simply track the overall market instead of you trying to pick individual winning stocks yourself. I know that sounds boring. It is boring. Boring is good. Boring is what actually works for the vast majority of people over time, because trying to pick individual stocks and time the market perfectly is a game that even seasoned professionals with entire teams of analysts and decades of experience lose at more often than they win. Don't play a game you're not equipped to win, especially when there's a boring, unglamorous version of that same game that quietly outperforms most people who try to be clever and time things perfectly. Let the index fund do the heavy compounding work for you in the background while you focus your energy on the next piece, which is building either a business or a skill that increases your income. Because the fastest way to grow real wealth isn't just what your investments earn on their own. It's how much money you're able to feed into that machine in the first place. The more you can pour into it consistently, the faster the whole machine runs for you. Real estate can absolutely be part of this too, but I want to be completely straight with you here. It is not the passive magic that people online with flashy thumbnails make it sound like. It takes real capital to get started properly. It takes ongoing management and attention. It takes dealing with actual human beings and actual problems, sometimes at 2 in the morning when a pipe bursts, and plenty of people get burned badly going in without understanding any of that, thinking it's as simple as buying a house and collecting checks forever. If you decide to go that route and go in with your eyes wide open and educate yourself thoroughly first, not because some 15-second video made it look effortless, glamorous, and risk-free. And one more thing on this, because I see it constantly. Don't let a small handful of index funds and a maybe someday rental property be the entire plan while you sit back and wait. The people who move fastest usually have a second engine running alongside their investments, some kind of business or side income they built with their own hands, feeding extra fuel into the investment side every single month. The investing part protects and grows what you already have. The business or income building part is what determines how much you actually have to protect and grow in the first place. Most people only ever build the first engine and wonder why the whole thing moves so slowly. Now let's talk about the mistakes, because I've made most of these myself over the years, and I've watched other smart, driven, genuinely capable people make them too. And every single one of them is completely avoidable once you learn to see is coming from a mile away. Mistake number one is lifestyle inflation. The moment income goes up, expenses creep up right alongside it, almost automatically, like it's hardwired into human nature itself. New car, bigger apartment, nicer everything, eating out more often, upgrading things that were already perfectly fine the way they were. I've personally seen people triple their income over just a few years and end up with less net worth than when they started, because every extra dollar got spent instead of putting to work building something lasting. The people who actually build real, lasting wealth keep their lifestyle relatively flat while their income climbs steadily, and they funnel the growing gap between the two straight into ownership month after month, year after year, without fail. Mistake number two is trying to look rich instead of actually trying to become rich. And these are two completely different goals that pull you in opposite directions. Nobody's net worth was ever built by what car sits parked in their driveway for the neighbors to admire and be jealous of. That car depreciates the second you drive it off the lot, losing real value every single day you own it, quietly draining money the whole time. The real wealth is invisible. It's sitting quietly in accounts and assets that nobody else can see or even knows exist, not parked outside for people to notice and be impressed by at a stoplight. Mistake number three is waiting around endlessly for the perfect moment to start. There is no perfect moment, and there never will be one, ever. The market will crash at some point, guaranteed. Life will get busy and chaotic. Something will always feel like a good, legitimate reason to wait a little bit longer. And if you keep waiting around for ideal conditions, you will wait your entire life away and wake up one day with absolutely nothing to show for all that waiting, to start with whatever you have right now, today, even if it's $50 a month, because starting builds the habit, and the habit itself is what actually compounds over time, not just the raw money. Mistake number four is treating a single win as proof that you've completely figured the whole thing out. One good stock pick, one good year, one lucky break that happened to pay off big. And people start taking bigger and bigger risks because they genuinely think they've cracked some kind of code that nobody else out there has found. That kind of overconfidence has wiped out more people financially than bad luck ever has in the history of money, because bad luck is random and out of your hands. But overconfidence is a choice you actively make every single time you decide to double down. Stay humble, stay consistent, stay boring, and treat every single win as one isolated data point, never as a permanent trend you can count on repeating over and over again. I want to leave you with something that matters more than any single tactic I just walked you through today, and it's this. None of this works without genuine consistency stretched out over a long period of time. There's no video, no course, no secret strategy floating around out there anywhere that skips the actual years it takes to build real, lasting wealth. Anybody promising you a fast, easy shortcut to $1 million overnight is selling you something, and it's usually not wealth at all. It's a fantasy dressed up to look like one so they can take your money in the process. What I've given you today is the real version, the boring, unglamorous, actually works version that nobody ever puts on a flashy thumbnail because it doesn't get the clicks, ownership instead of just a paycheck that disappears the moment it lands, and understanding the real math behind compounding and actually giving it the full time it needs to work its way through, building the ability to sell and communicate value clearly to other human beings, putting your money into things that grow steadily instead of things that quietly depreciate while you're not paying attention, and avoiding the small handful of mistakes that keep smart, capable, hardworking people broke for entire decades without most of them ever realizing exactly why. So here's my challenge to you. And I genuinely want you to go do this. Not just nod along quietly and close the video like you've probably done with 100 others just like it. Today, right now, before you do anything else at all, open up whatever account you use for your money and move something, anything, into an actual real investment. It doesn't have to be much. It has to be real. And then come back here and tell me in the comments exactly what you moved and how much. Because I genuinely want to see who actually followed through and did it versus who just watched quietly and moved on with their day like nothing happened at all. If this video helped you see things a little differently today, do me a favor and share it with somebody in your life who genuinely needs to hear this. Because most people never get told the honest, unfiltered truth about any of this. And now you have absolutely no excuse left not to start today. I'll see you in the next one.